Good afternoon. Today is September the 17th. I'm going to take a shameless moment and just wish my mom a happy birthday. I won't tell you how old she is, but I love you, Mom, and I'm glad to be part of your life. So happy birthday to you. And before we begin with what I want to show you today about the school calendar, I think it's very important that we send our condolences to the people in Clay County and also to the people of Cherokee County, because both of those school systems lost school teachers this year to COVID. And so to all of those, and if you happen to know those particular teachers, our hearts are with you and our prayers continue to be with you. Now I want to tell you that this particular time together is going to be just a little bit extended. It'll take about 10 minutes for the whole thing, but I want you to pay attention to all of it because it'll help you understand why we made some unexpected changes to our school calendar for this school year. If you were watching the board meeting on Monday night, you'll notice that the board approved a new calendar for the remainder of this year. And then some have noticed that there are some pieces that are maybe a little confusing, and I want to maybe help solve those confusion or reduce that confusion. I have in my hand a Senate bill that came out of Raleigh back in May, I believe it is. The name of the bill is 654. That's how they talk about bills in Raleigh. They give them where it came from, Senate bill, and then they give it a number, 654. This bill is 19 pages long and it has some significant pieces in it. And we were paying attention to it that included some restrictions on calendars. Now, I don't know if everyone understands, but our school calendar is very much regulated by what the legislature in Raleigh tells us that we can and we cannot do. We don't particularly like all the pieces. We would like to be able to start school at a different time and end school at a different time in the calendar year, but they have that very tightly controlled. We have a certain number of mandated teacher work days that we can use or we can't use. It's very tightly controlled. In May, we began to watch Senate Bill 654 to see what was going to happen with it, and nothing did throughout the summer until August 30th. And that week, the Senate and the House both passed this bill. It went to the governor, and he signed it, and it became State Law 130 on that day. On that day, we were forced to change our calendar because we had built in remote learning days, which would count as instructional days for our students, but would also give our teachers an opportunity to work together in PLCs. I'm going to talk about PLCs in just a minute, so let me come back to that. But right now, what I want you to understand is this bill, when it became law, took away our opportunity to use remote learning days unless we have a severe emergency or we have severe weather. That's all we can do now. We had built remote learning days into our calendar when we first voted on it, or when the school board first voted on it way back in May earlier in the year. And so we redesigned the calendar. And what we did was take out the remote learning days and put in teacher work days so that our teachers can have PLC meetings as well. Now, there are some pieces on here that I want to explain to you. In October, there are 3 days that will be first a teacher work day, which will be optional, then second, a mandated teacher work day, and then right after that, a PLC work day. The reason that we put those in is because originally, those were going to be the 3 days for the Cherokee Indian Fair, which they traditionally have in the fall. They call it their fall festival or their fall fair, I believe. That's been canceled. And I thought when we were designing this, we could take those days out or do something else with them, until I found out that some of our principals and administrative staff had scheduled events for those days and we couldn't reschedule them. So we had to keep those days in place. That's why they are there. Now let me talk to you just a minute about what a PLC is, and I want to get out my yearbook and explain something to you. We're sitting at the middle school. I worked here as a teacher for about 15 years and then as an administrator for 7 years. And then I would look after a number of years at the yearbook from the high school. And I would notice that as you would go through some of the class pictures, that there were students who were missing who had been here in school. And I would ask myself, why? Well, the answer is probably twofold. Number one, they either moved away, or number two, they quit coming to school. Sometimes we call those folks dropouts. And that has always bothered me, because I've always been concerned with why a student might start with us in elementary school and make it all the way up through high school and then quit when they're 16, just a couple of years before they got their diploma, sometimes just days before they got their diploma. What happens in the mind of those students? So what we have done is we have invested our time and our energy in trying to identify specific needs in students as early as we can, and then address those so that we might be able to reduce, hopefully will reduce, the number of students that don't complete their high school education. That's what the PLC is for. PLC stands for Professional Learning Community. And the idea is that our teachers that are in the same grade, our teachers that are perhaps teaching the same subject, they get together, they look at the individual growth and achievement of their students, and then they begin to identify when there might not be the growth that they're expecting. Then the teachers, the staff, look at those indicators such as test scores and attendance and needs that the teachers are beginning to see for the students, perhaps behavioral things that are coming out of the office with them, and they begin to try and pinpoint what can we do for that individual student so that they might end up with their picture as a senior in the yearbook when it's time for them to graduate. That's the purpose of the PLC. As a matter of fact, right now at the middle school, there are PLC conversations that are happening all up and down the hallways so that these teachers can begin to address what the needs of the individual students are, so that whenever it comes time to graduate, the whole class will be there and not just part of the class. That's why we're taking the time during the school year to have PLC teacher work days. If we don't do that, then our teachers don't have the time during their regular school day or their regular school week to get together and have those conversations. Our teachers are incredibly busy when you think about all of the things that they have the opportunity and the responsibility to take care of in the students' lives. We are so invested in every single student being a success and graduating that we feel that it is worth taking the time away from perhaps classroom instruction to make the classroom instruction more to make the classroom instruction better and more personalized as we're going through the remainder of the year. And you know, that takes me back to the book that I shared with you last year called The Days the Crayons Quit. The idea in this book is that every crayon has an individual set of gifts, an individual ability to make its mark on the world, but it has to be used and addressed in an individual way, not just like everyone else. From this, I have determined that this year I have decided that we are moving more and more into every student counting. That's why this is on the back of our t-shirt this year. Every crayon, every student matters in Swain County School. And if we're going to say that we're going to work for and try to help every student, then we have to mean every single student. So that's why we have PLC days in our new calendar so that we can meet the needs of every single student exactly where they are. I hope that that makes sense to you. I would love to talk with you about it at any time. Please understand, my intent, our intent is to make sure that every student that is with us ends up with their picture as a senior and a diploma in their hand when they can walk across the stage or the field at Swain County High School. Every student means every single student, regardless of where they've been or where they're going, where they've come from, or what they may be able to do or not do right now at this moment. I know that you feel that way too, because your child, your son or your daughter, is one of those students. We care about them. We care about you. Thank you for being part of our family. Thank you for allowing us to be part of yours. So until the next time, God bless you. Have a great day. Thank you for being part of Swain County Schools.